In this video, I'm gonna show you how to get the best out of your iPhone camera. Although the iPhone 14 Pro already does a fantastic job regarding image quality, after using it for a few days, I realized that sometimes the camera can underperform and deliver a lower image quality than it should. So as someone who makes a living out of creating videos, I've managed to find a way around those issues. And by doing that, you will always have the very best of image quality out of your iPhone. So the first step is to go to the camera settings, and we're gonna change some stuff there. If you want the very best of image quality and don't care about saving storage space, tap Formats and set to most compatible, activate Apple ProRes and set to 48 megapixels. If you're not planning to edit your photos and want to save storage space, on Formats set to high efficiency and 12 megapixels at Apple ProRes. This will drastically reduce the file size while still maintaining amazing image quality. On Record Video, set it to 4K 30 FPS. Activate Enhanced Stabilization, deactivate HDR Video and activate Lock Camera. On Record Slow-Mo, set to 240 FPS. On Record Cinematic, I would recommend leaving on 30 FPS, but sometimes I prefer at 24, sometimes I don't. I invite you to try yourself and see which motion blur you prefer. On Preserve Settings, activate everything but Action Mode and Live Photo. On Composition, activate Grid if you are familiar with composition techniques. If not, don't bother, and you can always come back here and activate once you become a master of photography, if that's within your destiny. Activate Mirror Front Camera, and finally activate Macro Control. This gives you the option to deactivate the macro mode, and this prevents the iPhone from switching from the main camera to the ultra wide if you put the camera too close of subject. Now that the camera is properly set, I'm gonna walk you through on all the camera options and features. As soon as you open the camera app, the first camera option is the ultra wide, which is a 12 megapixel camera. This camera is perfect for situations where you need to show the space you're at. The lens distortion makes the space look much bigger than it is. So if you're into real estate, that's definitely the camera you want to use to present your listings. I've seen some people using this camera for portrait style, but in my opinion, it is not the right choice. And that's because of the distortion you get. It doesn't look realistic, and most importantly, because this is not the camera with the best image quality. If you want to take portraits, you should use the camera with the best image quality, the main camera with the new sensor of 48 megapixels. Now for the main camera, the iPhone 14 Pro gives you two options, the standard view and the 2x crop, which is literally the same camera but cropped in, creating a similar look to what you would get on a 50mm lens, which is one of the most used for portraits. On the opposite side of the ultra wide, this is the type of lens distortion that helps the face looks more pleasant as it is in real life. So if you're into taking portraits, this is the camera you should prioritize, not only for the distortion, but mainly because this is the camera with the best image quality out of the three options. Now moving on to the third camera, it's a 3x zoom of 12 megapixels, and this is the camera you want to use in case you cannot get close enough to the subject, for example buildings or landscapes. Now let's talk camera modes. The first mode I want to show is the macro mode, which is available only with the ultra-wide camera. And just in case you don't know what macro photography means, it's the idea of getting as close as possible to the subject while still keeping in focus. Every lens has its own minimum focus distance to be respected. So in other words, if you get too close, you just won't be able to get the subject in focus. That's where macro lenses comes in. I don't recommend using this mode on the iPhone because, like I mentioned, the ultra-wide is a type of lens that makes stuff look distorted and different than they are in reality. So while using the ultra-wide and getting too close to the subject, it will just reinforce the whole distortion, and in my opinion, it doesn't look good. If you look into professional lenses for macro photography, these lenses are always around 90 to 100 millimeters, which if adapted to a smartphone, would be something close to a 3 times or 4 times zoom. So instead of using the ultra wide, I would recommend getting this accessory here. This is a macro lens specifically made for smartphones. This lens allows you to break the minimum focus distance while using the main camera, and with that, you're not only getting a more realistic distortion, but also the best image quality. And if you want to try it out for yourself, the link for this lens is in the description. Now let's talk ProRes. ProRes is a professional video codec that gives you more flexibility in post-production. This is a feature you only find in top-tier professional cameras, so it's awesome that Apple allows us to capture videos in ProRes at the ease of our iPhone, but in reality, it's just not practical at all because ProRes files are much bigger. And coming from the iPhone, the image quality, it's not that different from the standard mode. Now moving on to action mode. This is a new feature that allows you to have ultra stable footage like you would get in an action camera, for example. Personally, I don't use this option simply because I don't see the need for it. I cannot think of a situation where I would need to film something while running at top speed. But just in case this is something you are okay with, I have a quick tip for you. Keep in mind that when you change to action mode, your resolution will drop, and it automatically switches to the ultra-wide camera, which has a lower image quality compared to the main camera. So whenever you activate the action mode, remember to switch back to the main camera, otherwise your footage will look really grainy. Now switching to photo mode, we have the new option of shooting Apple ProRes, which is similar to the ProRes feature but for photos. It allows the sensor to capture and register more information. This means you have the benefit of retaining information such as highlights and shadows, and not just relying on the automatic process that the iPhone will apply on the image and you cannot undo it. So if you know how to edit, I would recommend always keeping this option on. And just in case you don't know how to edit, don't worry, because I'm preparing a lot of step-by-step tutorials so you can easily edit directly on your iPhone and take your photos to the next level. And this goes for Android users as well. So if you don't want to miss my upcoming videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel, activate the notification bell, and click the link in the description to join my newsletter. That's where I'll be sharing all my content such as reviews, tutorials, buying guides, and much more. It's completely free, so make sure to join it. Now back to the features. Portrait mode, which is basically a digital effect that tries to mimic the natural blur you get by using a professional lens. However, it doesn't always look good. If you leave it on the lowest f number, which represents the aperture of the lens, your photos will obviously look fake, especially if you use the main camera on the 1x zoom, which is actually wide for a portrait. So what I recommend is setting to 2x zoom and adjust the f number to something around f4.5 plus. In my opinion, it makes the image look a bit more realistic to what you would get on a professional camera. And by doing that, you can get amazing results, especially coming out of an iPhone. And last but not least, one of my favorite features of the iPhone, cinematic mode. It's basically the portrait mode but applied to video. And now that we're talking about video, it's a bit more complicated to get pro results. And that's because it's not just pointing the camera to a subject, but more about how to frame it or which camera movements to use in order to make your video look more cinematic. And also by adjusting the f number, just like with the portrait mode, the result can get really close to what you would have on a professional camera. Now, if you don't own a iPhone 13 or 14 series but still would like to have the cinematic mode look, there's a super easy way around. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see this step by step, and I'll prepare this video for you. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't feel shy to hit the comments below just because it's a new channel. Let me know what type of content you are into so I can prepare more videos for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.